Simple equation is, what do all human beings do to any source of delight in their life, no matter how minor the delight? And the answer is, we return to it until it fails to delight us. I
Yeah.
mean, we're a joy-seeking species. And what I just did is I just defined what loyalty is.
Yeah. Retention.
You make me happy. Any measure of selling me something does not please me.
Yeah.
I'm a corporate buyer, for God's sake. I buy 1,000 items from 1,000 vendors a day.
Yeah.
But you make a little extra effort on my behalf to be, genuinely interested in me as a human being, to delight me a little bit. Well, guess what? I can't not remember that. I am coming back.
So there's a big difference between growing a B2B company and growing a B2C company, especially as marketers. And I've been wanting to have this conversation for some time now about what B2B can learn from B2C. And when I was introduced to today's guest, I immediately thought this is the exact right person to go down this rabbit hole with. So today's guest is Ken Schmidt, former Harley Davidson executive, and now executive advisor and speaker. So welcome to Exploring Growth, Ken.
Hey, thanks for having me, Lee.
This will be fun. I found that since B2B marketers don't really have to eat what they kill, so to speak, like B2C, because B2C marketers really have to drive a piece of the revenue. I think more so than B2B is called on to do. I think B2B tend to get a little bit lazy in their approach to actual marketing, and they kind of focus on supporting sales more than anything, just kind of bottom of the funnel, sales driven marketing, which is good. But yeah, I think they kind of check creativity at the door.
Couldn't agree more. Yep.
So you have a background that spans across B2B and B2C. So tell us a little bit about your pedigree and how it shaped your thinking.
Well, sure. I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version here.
Yeah.
Lee, was super fortunate to be part of the turnaround team at Harley Davidson from mid 80s through most of the 90s, taking a bankrupt, self-destroyed business and turning it into, what the world knows and sees it as today. But I think more important for our discussion today is what's happened since I left there. I've been an advisor to companies all over the planet from every industry or any industry that you can imagine. B2B, B2C, household names, small to mid-size businesses. Have written a couple of books, the most recent being Make Some Noise, The Unconventional Road to Dominance, which is essentially a kind of a road book or a map to how to position your business and your culture to become a more dominant competitor.
Yeah.
And spend a lot of time out on the speaking circuit and talking to cool people like
That's
you.
cool.
So those are the bona fides, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, if you could just pull out one or two things to show us, like, kind of what you've been up to over the last decade or so. Because I think that you've touched on a lot of different companies that are, again, B2B and B2C.
Yeah.
So the nature of this conversation, I think that'd be really good for our listeners to know, just a little peek behind the curtain.
Oh, sure. What I always find interestingly when I'm working with B2B companies, and I don't know if it's strictly because, people know me coming from this mega well-known brand, is people immediately make apologies for what they do. But what we do isn't cool. And I just go stop right there. Like, why would you ever present your business to me in an apologetic tone? Like, wait, is somebody holding a gun to your head and making you come here to work? I mean, there's a reason that you're working here. There's a reason that this business exists, and that should be awesome to you, or it should certainly be awesome in the way that you present it to others. And I think part of that is also the kind of the crutch that B2B people tend to use a lot. Like, we're in a different sphere than in B2C, and we're not as dramatic or as exciting, awesome, amazing, as the B2C world. So, it's like we have this handicap.
Yeah.
And I always, work really quickly to diffuse people of that B2B, B2C, at the end of the day, man, we do business with people that we like. We do
Yeah.
business with people that we choose to do business with, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
B2B, B2C. It doesn't matter what's being sold. If I don't
Right.
like you, I'm not buying from you. If I like you more than the other people that are doing essentially the same thing you
Mm-hmm.
are, guess what? You get the nod,
That's it.
period. Now let's talk about how you market and promote your business.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You nailed it. B2B is all about relationships. It's all about trust. And the quicker you can build trust that's genuine,
Mm-hmm.
the more you're going to win. That's kind of goes to the nature of a little bit of what we do over at Signal Media is helping people take content and build relationships quicker with, certain strategic content so that they can not only have credibility, you're
Mm-hmm.
building the awareness and the nurture effect for credibility, but you're building deeper trust quicker. And I always like to say, we get our good ideas from the B2C side,
Sure.
because they're
That's real. That's,
experimenting.
the budgets tend to be bigger and
Yep.
on and on. So yeah, we know that's what's most visible to people.
Yeah, it's visible. It's consumer driven. Consumers need to see brand. Bigger companies typically are going to spend money on a lot of ads, and they're testing. If they're doing it right, they're testing and experimenting. Um, and so that's where all the good ideas come from, I think. But I agree with you. I go back to the B2B side, and I say, look, you could do this same thing. It's going to look a little different, but the passion can come through. The drive, the vision for what you guys are doing to connect with your audience can be the same, and that
If
tone can come through.
if there's not a human connection to a business, that business is a commodity, and
Right.
that's really all there is to it. And you mentioned something a second ago, Lee, that always gets my attention when you talk about uh, human quality.
Mm-hmm.
The trust, the likability, the word relationship that I hear all the time with
Mm-hmm.
from B2B businesses, regardless of their size. We really focus on relationships, and I never take that as a universal truth. I go, prove it.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means, because everybody says that, and you feel you have to say it. Make that real for me.
Mm-hmm.
Show me how you do that,
Mm-hmm.
how you've ingrained that in the culture. Because if you're not doing that, that's a BS answer,
Yep.
and don't feed me that crap, because I don't want to. I don't want. I hear it too often.
Yeah.
Uh, we're so focused on doing what we do well, uh, in building relationships with people. And I go, well, that's two completely different things. So kind of let's break these down and look
Yes,
at
it
them.
is.
Because if all you're known for is what you do,
Mm-hmm.
and most businesses are, because that's all they talk about, all they promote, all they glorify,
Yeah.
uh, it's very, very difficult to build relationships with people, because they only know you for what you do.
Exactly.
And
If
what you
all
do
you're
is,
doing is talk about your product, they only know about your product.
amen. And uh, it's amazing though, because I know I'm preaching to the choir here. How many times I'll talk to the owners or
Uh-huh.
the executive team leading a B2B company,
Yeah.
no matter what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I'll say, if someone that you serve is talking about your business today to somebody who doesn't know you, that could be a dream client, a dream customer, if it could be the biggest customer you've ever had,
Mm-hmm.
what would you want that person to say about your business? 100% of the time, Lee, that's when you get the hands behind the head. They lean back in a chair and they go, "Well, I guess what." And stop. We've already failed the
You
test.
already lost it. Yeah.
Yeah, you guess. Like, dude, this is everything in your world right
Yeah.
here condensed into one sentence, and you don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
What do you want your reputation to be? What do you want people saying about your business? Because when they're talking about your business, I guarantee they're not talking about what you do. It's who you are,
Mm-hmm.
especially these people that you say that you have a relationship with. Because when they're describing your business, they're going to describe the human quality. We like these people. I like these guys. I love these guys. These guys take great care of me. Whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
nowhere in there did these guys have the best product. I
Yep.
love the way they bolt their stuff together. Whatever that is, because again, the product can't be the differentiator, and
Completely.
products do not no matter how well they're made, speak for themselves. You know, it's the people behind the product, the people behind the service that make the business competitive, or that, you know, by default make the business struggle in a commoditized, you know, price driven dynamic.
100%. Yep. And you know, this word relationship, and I'm no vernacular specialist, but like I tend to think that there's a root word in there somewhere of relating.
Hmm.
And you know, when you're relating to other humans, one human to another, and the product exists or service exists in there somewhere, what you're allowed to do is, what you're able to do is relate your product to those humans from another human. And in doing that, that's where the relationship really starts, I think.
See,
So with
go ahead.
B2B, it's hard because they want to talk about their product. I think a good baby step for them is to say, okay, we can talk about your product, but let's think about it from an empathy standpoint. What is your buyer user? What are their needs? What do they value? Let's relate what it is that we're doing to them.
To me, the basis of relationship, and I'm sure it sounds soft or corny, is humanity. It's human drivers. It's
Mm-hmm.
empathy. It's wit. It's
Mm-hmm.
uh, curiosity.
Yeah.
And what I always find, uh, and it's natural and is really predictable, is I always use like a trade show as an example, because that's such a
Mm-hmm.
great place to see a microcosm of how people describe their business to, you know, potential customers. And what we tend to do, especially when we're meeting uh, prospective partners or prospective customers, the first time, is we immediately lapse into this business speak where we feel like we immediately need to start talking about what we do.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we do here. See, that is so counter to human experience. See, it's our desire to be interesting to people that
Yeah.
hurts us, that
Yeah.
immediately puts us back on our heels, because what people want, you know, it's the basis of relationship is, I want you to be interested in me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's a great adage that somebody told me like 40 years ago that I never forgot. It says, stop being interesting, start being interested.
Yeah.
That locks people in the feet, because now they're talking about themselves. They're not talking about their business. You know, I'm interested in you as a person, and we're having a conversation about my favorite person, who happens to be me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are showing an interest in me and reacting to what I'm saying, I begin immediately to like you.
Yes.
And it's impossible not to. Right? You're asking questions about me. You know, go to hell. Nobody's ever.
Yeah.
Right? Wow. Okay. You notice that it's different. You notice that somebody's making an effort to be human, establish a relationship, possibly even, you know, God forbid, a friendship.
Yep.
That makes discussions about the business and the what we do part of the equation that much easier, because now the person's going to be way more receptive.
Mm-hmm.
You sell lawnmowers. I get it.
Yeah.
Right? I know that before we have a discussion. You
Yeah.
sell laptops, you sell carpeting, whatever. I know that, or we wouldn't be having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, kind of like, what else have you got?
Right.
And if all I'm seeing is that business versus hated, I tell you, you know, we're offering 10% off this week on all of our, you know, last year's model, whatever. You're telling me what's important to you, and what's important to you is getting rid of this crap, not
Yes.
me.
Yes.
I'm what's important here.
And I think this applies to both B2B and B2C as we're talking
Absolutely.
through it. You know, it's I think B2C can tend to get this right more than B2B, because if they don't, they fall into that sort of race to the bottom on price. And I think when they get it right, they realize the success of it. And getting it right is helping their buyer to envision themselves buying, you know, in their product. And when they do that, they're essentially doing what you're saying. They're interested. They're showing that they were interested enough to know the buyer to the extent that they need to know them.
The B2B business world does, though, other than the you know, the Grangers, the huge B2B companies world, have a advantage over most B2Cs in that they have to, as a result of their business, stand across from other people or talk to other people. So there's more of that dynamic, or more chances for that dynamic, than there are in the uh, the online, the heavily online
Yes.
driven businesses, or the just pluck it off the shelf
Yeah.
type
Well,
businesses.
one thing I really love about B2B, and I see this in my business, is you know, there's a lot of face to face, there's a lot of high touch. Um, I think there's the SaaS products, and there's kind of things that
Mm.
are less high touch, but in a long sales cycle type of high ticket item, you're going to have a lot of touch with maybe multiple people in that buying process to turn it over into a client and then continue that process. It's like dating to marry or campaigning to be elected. It's the work you have to do before the work. I kind of like that because it gives you both the chance to really feel each other out and build that solid sort of base of trust to the degree that you can build it before you start working together, and almost start working together before you're working together. And to me, I think that's the advantage that B2B has, is that the advantage is the relationship that B2C has, typically will have a harder time to demonstrate that they know the customer, which is where their creativity has to come from.
Yeah.
That's where the heavy burden on the B2C side is. They have to be creative to influence the buyer that they know them.
What most people tend to do is believe that on the B2B side,
Mm-hmm.
and also on B2C, but real heavy in B2B, especially in the backbone type industries
Mm-hmm.
where we're selling parts or
Yeah.
equipment, machinery, uh, is that they believe, they believe a lot of things about the people that they serve, but what they mostly believe is that, I'm here to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to provide a service for you. And the faster and easier I make that for you, the more you're going to like working with our business. And
Mm-hmm.
what you find is that's a formula for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very kind of myopic, uh, short lensed view of how, our species operates. I fully expect you're going to serve me. I
Mm-hmm.
fully expect I'm going to get value for what I'm going to get what I pay for.
Sure.
Otherwise you wouldn't be in business.
Mm-hmm.
How fast you do it, how readily you answer my question to get me off the phone. That's your internal knitting. That's your
Mm-hmm.
internal. And what I say to all people in that environment is you're blowing enormous opportunities by doing that.
Yeah.
It requires a mindset change. It's a mindset change that certainly
Mm-hmm.
that we went through at Harley Davidson, but that most truly successful companies, if they weren't founded this way, had to evolve and say, we're not here to serve. We're not here to sell you stuff. We're here to be a source of delight for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know when I say delight, especially to the kind of old world businesses, people like, well, yeah, that's really soft, but we're not in the delight business. We're selling asphalt.
Yeah.
Like, but that's what you do,
But it kind of
right?
comes back to the relationship,
It does, and it's like look, anytime, and I'm not talking about delight. Like we have to do things for people that get them so excited that they're doing backflips, whooping for joy.
Mm-hmm.
It's anything that upends what someone expects from a relationship in a positive way. That's that someone's paying attention to me. Somebody's making an effort on my behalf. This person is enjoying what they're doing so much that I can't help but be mimicking that, enjoying it
Yeah.
myself. When that's happening,
Yeah.
man, we feel a little bit of delight. Now, here's the reward part of that. It is so freaking simple, and why it's not taught in business schools, I have no idea. But simple equation is, what do all human beings do to any source of delight in their life, no matter how minor the delight? And the answer is we return to it until it fails to delight us. I
Yeah.
mean, we're a joy-seeking species. And what I just did is I just defined what loyalty is.
Yeah. Retention.
You make me happy. Any measure of selling me something does not please me.
Yeah.
I'm a corporate buyer, for God's sake. I buy 1,000 items from 1,000 vendors a day.
Yeah.
But you make a little extra effort on my behalf
Mm-hmm.
to be genuinely interested in me as a human being. to delight me a little bit. Well, guess what? I can't not remember that. I am coming back for more of that. You get the nod. I
Yep.
now prefer you over somebody else. And if I prefer you, guess what? Price is now no longer my primary
Hmm.
driver in the purchase equation.
That's right.
I'm seeking you out. You keep delighting me, I'm going to keep returning. You stop delighting me, boom,
Yeah.
I'll find somebody else.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you think about your average day and the things that you have to deal with as the leader of your family, the leader of your business, all the responsibilities you carry into a day. And any number of things can go wrong and break and be behind and so on and so forth. And so you have these responsibilities that you're trying to carry and manage and
Mm-hmm.
fires to put out. If that vendor or that company can be one less fire, and in fact maybe even encourage the solution to another fire, you rise very quickly in their world when it's like, okay, now I got to go do this thing and this is going to be just like everything else. And then it happens to not be, it happens to be one step instead of 10. It gives you your time back. It gives you value in a very delightful way. I think that's what you're getting at, is
Yeah.
it doesn't have to make you do backflips. It has to just matter to the person that's buying it.
And we instantly notice when that happens because we're just not used to. We're just used to getting what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Hit the button, the brown box shows up at the door, because it always does. When something in the equation is noticeably different, is off a little bit, I
Yeah.
like this. Boom, you will get the benefit of the nod the next time. And then the more you're talking, the deeper the relationship comes, the deeper the trust, the more forgiving buyers are. If we make a mistake, they feel like we've got their best interests at heart.
Yep.
All of these positive things. And also, guess what? When they're at a trade show or something, or at a convention, and your name comes up, they're going to say good stuff about you.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, exactly.
They rock.
uh,
Versus they suck, don't know them, they're okay.
yeah. Or yeah, it's, they have a good price, but you have to deal with this and that and the other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really worth the headache. The best example that comes to mind is Amazon, where they rolled out the 2-day shipping and then the 1-day shipping. And they, it's like they just upped the ante without you even asking. Like 2 days, I'm perfectly fine with 2 days. I don't see why I need 1 day. Then 1 day, like, okay, I'm going to pretty much just shift all my buying to you, because I know that it's, for the most part, I'm going to have a 1-day turnaround on this. And, that's delight, I think, on a grand scale.
It and surprise, like in a holy crap kind of way.
Yeah.
The market I'm in here, just outside of DC, it sometimes embarrasses me. Order something off Amazon and it shows up like 2 hours later. I didn't need it that quick.
Yes.
But awesome that you could do that.
Yeah.
But there's another little parable in that story. Is a lot of times if I'm talking to a business in the B2B space, I guess in B2C too, that does the majority of their business online, say, tell me about your business and how you do it. I hear this all, well, we're not Amazon, but, and I go, why? The description of your business is what you're not.
Yes.
And guess what? Nobody else is Amazon either. That's like comparing yourself to a god. It's like, it's way too, we're trying to model our business after Amazon. You can't. They already did it. Like,
they got it.
Let's talk about what you do and how, because ultimately you're competing against those guys. We need to say and do things for people that position you clearly as different and more
and in
desirable.
fact, your buyers may not care that you're not like Amazon. That may not be of what's valuable to
and
them.
That's not, was I thinking that when I asked you about your business? Hey, are you guys Amazon? No. It's so many mistakes, comparing yourself to somebody else, not immediately having in mind a description of the business that everybody else in the business knows and understands. That's kind of came back to what I said earlier about how do you want somebody to talk about the business, and the leader has to put his hands behind his head and take a guess at it. Well, if you have 100 employees, that's 100 employees that are also guessing at how the business should be described. Man, that's and I
Too many
I
guesses.
shouldn't say this, but that's money in the bank for me. When
Yes,
I'm
it
sitting
is.
across and go, ooh, I'm about to make some
Turn
money
a
today.
couple dials,
Yeah.
and yeah, exactly. On our intro call, you
Yeah.
were telling me about weapons of mass
Yeah.
attraction as a model. Tell us about that.
Sure.
Well, it was in context to us talking about this topic of building demand.
I'm really, really a profoundly huge believer in leveraging basic drivers of human behavior to create demand and build competitive advantage, which means, not extolling the virtues of our products and services and what we do, but instead taking advantage of needs that are inherent in the entire human race. And when we meet human needs, especially in ways they don't expect, especially emotional needs, not so much the physiological food, water, shelter stuff, that's much easier to do. When we are meeting someone's emotional needs as business people, we're doing something that's utterly profound. I mean, that's the entire basis of, Harley Davidson's business and other, consumer businesses that do well, that understand this. We all have the deep-rooted, deep need for validation, to be made to feel good about ourselves, important, special, needed, necessary, awesome.
Yeah.
And when we do that for people, squirt goes the dopamine in their brain. That's that interested versus interested. Someone's paying attention to me. I like that.
Yeah.
Squirt goes the dopamine. I'm coming back for more. As long as this person or this business is doing this for me, I'm going to keep doing it. So then under that umbrella of meeting human needs, there are simple, what I call weapons of mass attraction, things that we can do, behaviors that we can exhibit that make us and the businesses that we represent more attractive and more desirable and, best of all, more memorable.
Sure.
And the first one is the easiest one. And go back to that trade show for a minute, because this is where you don't see enough of this, that the most magnetically attractive human trait in the Noah Webster dictionary says magnetically attractive, a force that pulls a person forward. The most magnetically attractive human trait is not a smiling face. As long as we're smiling, people like it. No, because they smiled at Sears. There has to be more to it than that. The most magnetically attractive of all human traits is visible with a capital V, passion with a huge capital P. If you're standing across from somebody or in the shared space of somebody who's obviously very clearly digging what they're doing, loving life at that moment, in a great mood, super cheerful, focused on 100% of the human species tilts toward that person, leans toward that person.
What's going on here?
We are a joy-seeking species, right? Most of us live kind of miserable, dull lives, but when there's an opportunity to feel good, we lean toward it. Give me some of that.
Yeah,
but we can't. 100% of the species notices it and reacts to it immediately. And the takeaway from that, though, there's actually a bunch of them, that the person that you're meeting for the first time, or the person that's seeing you walking into a meeting or into the meeting room or at the sales booth or whatever that is making a judgment in literally 1/100th of a second of whether they like you or not.
Yeah.
So unfair. But,
we all do it.
Hands folded, staring at the ground. Is that somebody I want to spend time with? No, I don't.
You're
the
right.
person who's visibly passionate, enthusiastic, you can't not get pulled toward. And the magical thing is the dividend that this pays, and that when you are in the presence of a visibly passionate, enthusiastic person, you will, in that same 1/100th of a second, start to mimic them. We don't know why it happens. Again, it's kind of humanity 101. You learn from the time that you're an infant. If you look joyful, people pick you up and yay. Have lots of friends. When you look miserable or like there's something awful in your diaper, people stay away from you. We learn that. And as long as we're around happy people, passionate people, and we're acting that, we're feeling better about ourselves. So I'm now liking you.
Yes.
I like you. I like the business that you represent. You may be the first and only person from this business that I'll ever meet,
Mhm.
but the association that I now have with your business is driven 100% by this one human being that I'm meeting.
Mhm.
And I'm going to now pluralize that and describe your business as they're so cool. They're awesome. They're amazing. They're
Mhm.
they're so friendly. They're so great at whatever it is
Yeah.
that one person's behavior became the behavior of the
Mhm.
entire organization without anybody else knowing about it, because
Yep.
that's what people do. Other weapons of mass attraction is never greeting someone predictably,
Mhm.
uh, or asking questions that people can answer with a one-word no.
Yeah.
Uh, especially
Non-open-ended.
go back to the trade show, go back to a direct mail. Looking for a new? No, I'm not looking for a poo. And I said, well, think it. Somebody's walking towards you. Hey, you want to see something cool? The number of people who say no to that question is zero.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. Shit, show me what you got, pal. Pick up on some article of clothing the person's wearing. Looking for some visual cue behind the person about what's important to them.
Mhm.
Cue in on that. Poof! Immediately, we've got something here that has nothing to do with our businesses.
Yeah.
We're just being human
You're
for a few
connecting.
seconds, and that's what moves markets. Because whether it's motorcycles or carpet squares,
Yeah.
every player in these market spaces are extraordinarily good at what they do.
Mhm.
I'm not questioning the quality and the reliability of your products. You wouldn't be here if your stuff was lousy.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm going to like about you. That's not what I'm going to remember you for. Unless you've got a cure for infectious diseases,
Right.
you know, I will opt to do business with somebody that I like. Period.
Yep.
Why don't we think about that more? And it's because we think we're here to serve.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm dragging this answer out for so long, but I
No,
always tell
no, it's
people
good. Yeah.
is you've got a phone call on line one, customer or potential customer. And again, this or standing in front of you at the trade show or the booth, or you just knocked on their door.
Sure.
And what we immediately lapse into is I don't want to take up too much of their time.
Mhm.
I want to serve them. I want to get them the information that they need as quickly as possible and send them on their way, because that means I'm doing my job right. That means I'm showing respect for them. I said, well, that might, all those things might be true, but none of those things move the needle. What I always tell people, if it's on the front of my laptop here, it's on the back of my phone, 2 letters, R and R. So if somebody's calling me, if I'm about to Zoom with somebody,
Mhm.
it's I'm not here to serve this person. I'm here to say and do things that they will remember and
Mhm.
repeat. Because what I say to this person, assuming that it's not predictable business tripe, uh, is going to be repeated when this guy or this gal is talking about me.
Mhm.
If I focus on that, I've got a chance to build my reputation and the reputation of this business and the likability of this business with every human being I talk to, because they're the ones that are going to be building our reputation,
Mhm.
right? They're the ones that are going to be talking about us and hopefully remembering us and recommending us
Right.
to their friends. If I'm not focused on that, somebody else will be, and that'll be, one of your competitors. We have opportunity every day
Mhm.
to do this, but we tend to look past it, get them their information, get them off the phone. And I can't tell you how many times, if you're having somebody on the other, hey, what are you doing this weekend? What? Oh, I'm going to go to football. Well, Paul, you have that conversation. You never once will you hear that person trying to hustle you off the phone.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know you're busy. You know you're busy, but you're going to make time to talk about, what's important to you,
Yeah.
which is your personal stuff.
That's right.
And the fact that I'm asking you and other people aren't, well, that's points in my column.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. As long as it's not used to manipulate, because that's where you get into,
Oh, well, sure. Yep.
oh, I see the marker there.
Mhm.
It's not genuine. Now I'm out.
Uh,
But
we
yeah.
everybody smells
Yeah.
lack of sincerity. I mean, you
That's
can't
right.
miss it. So that's a really good point. But it requires so little effort.
Yeah, so it's not a gimmick is what I meant. Like what
Yep.
you're saying has to
Mhm.
be genuine. And I think for those people that are running companies and are hiring salespeople and putting faces in front of other faces, if they can harken back to the passion that they have for what they're doing, and they can really examine their product and their service and see, okay, how is this really helping people, and they can connect again to it
Mhm.
and to what they're doing, to the vision, to the that journey ahead, they can then muster up those emotions again, because at some point they were there. Muster them up and take those to market in the ways that you're saying. And that really is a huge competitive advantage, because when you look at all the other competitors, what do? They do all the things you're saying not to do. They go to features and benefits, and then
Mhm.
they go to price, and they end up with a pricing model, pricing mindset, and it doesn't take them anywhere. Their number of deals or opportunities are going to be bid, based, essentially. They're not going to have real connections and real conversations with people that lead to real long term value clients.
What's amazing is because you said features and benefits, and I go to a lot of companies where they say this is what we're trained on. We
Mm-hmm.
need to know the features and
Mm-hmm.
benefits of the product. We need to know the product inside and out. Yes, you do. You
Yeah,
absolutely need to know the product inside
because
and
there's
out.
a time for that. There's a
And you
time to
should
know
be
those
proud of
things.
your knowledge with that. The problem comes when that's what people lead with.
Yes.
And I said, have you ever, I'm kind of a Luddite when it comes to technology. If I am in any type of electronic store, computer store, buying a laptop, good God, do I hate that? Because and what do you get? Well, this one's got 128 megabytes,
Yeah.
and
Blah blah blah
from
blah.
the
Yeah.
get go, not only do I not have a clue of what this terminology means, but
Specs.
there's a
Yeah.
data point. There's 128 of these. There's 356 of these, and I go, I'm supposed to remember this
How does
when I
that help
don't
me
even
send an email?
understand it. Why are you doing this to me? I just need a freaking laptop.
Yeah.
Show me. I don't care if it's good, better, best, but you're leading with features and benefits
Yeah.
and product specs.
Yeah.
It's like looking at product specs of a life insurance policy. Yeah, go ahead and compare two.
Mm-hmm.
What is this crap?
Yeah.
Help me here.
Right.
Understand what I'm going to do with this and what I want it for, and make me like. And then I trust you. I'm going to take your recommendation.
Yeah.
You know what? After what you told, you'll be happier with this. I go, thank you very, very much.
Mm-hmm.
We could be pals. Jamming this product crap down my throat, I dislike you immediately.
Yes, and it's cold. It's not genuine or sincere.
But people think they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't, and a lot of times I don't even think they're trained to do that. I think it's just the belief.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're here to do. It's that walk into a store and someone, can I help you? I just got here. Or when you're leaving, did you find everything you're looking for?
Yeah.
You seriously going to ask me that now when I'm leaving? Are they trained to do that? Probably not. They've just heard it so many times they think they're
Yeah.
supposed to. It's
Yeah.
always leading with the wrong thing.
That's the level of customer care, is that front end and back end question. It's not, consultative at all. It's not,
Yeah.
we know that, 4 out of 5 people that come in here looking for this type of, laptop or looking for the computer, they have this kind of problem, and you probably don't have that problem, but, a lot of people do. So, oh no, that's exactly the problem I have. Oh, okay. Well, when you have that problem, how does that
Yeah.
work?
And what would it hurt for them to say, hey, but what's your level of knowledge on
Mm-hmm.
the technology and the stuff that's inside this? And I'd say,
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. Make it easy. We would have that conversation, but they never do.
Yeah.
This one's on sale, and this one has this, and this. And I said, everything you said after it's on sale, I didn't understand.
That's right.
Make it
That's
easy
right.
for me.
That's awesome. This has been a fun conversation. Thanks for that.
Oh, I could do this stuff all day. I do it all day.
Yeah, you do. You do. I mean, see, and there you go. You're eating your own dog food, as they say.
Exactly.
You're taking your passion and making it your brand.
God bless America is all I can say.
I love it. Okay, we're gonna have to end here. We're right about the 40-minute mark. It was,
Oh, wow.
if
That
I,
went
wa- if I,
fast.
wa- yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you connect with people,
See
right?
that?
I mean, it
Right
just
on, Lee.
you prioritize it, and time goes by. If we want to send people your way, where do we send them?
Easiest place, well, you can go to kenspeaks.com.
Okay.
You can find me on LinkedIn. And please, if you've got questions, I answer 100% of everything that comes my way.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing that. Or you can listen to my podcast, Tailgating with Geniuses.
Okay.
Those are the easiest ways to find me.
I like it. And you mentioned you had a book. What's the
Oh,
name
yeah.
of the book?
Book, Make Some Noise, The Unconventional Road to Dominance, business book. And then I was
like it.
also the ghostwriter of 100 Years of Harley Davidson, the big history book, the big Harley
Oh,
history book.
cool. Yeah, I have to check that out.
Yeah, please do.
Quite the track record. And thanks for being on and chatting about this topic.
My pleasure, Lee.